Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I am super thrilled you're tuning in today because we're tackling a subject that gets right to the very core of how the technology of tomorrow is actually being built. So, think about when you look at a towering skyscraper. We naturally marvel at all that shiny glass, the steel reaching way up into the clouds. But we rarely stop to think about the massive, invisible concrete foundation that's been poured deep underground to hold the whole thing up. Well, artificial intelligence is exactly the same. We spend so much time looking at the shiny user interfaces, right? The impressive magical outputs. But today, we're going completely underground. Okay, let's dive into this. We are exploring the architecture of intelligent knowledge, which is essentially the bedrock foundation of how AI actually learns.
There's this famous saying, creativity rarely appears out of nowhere. And we absolutely love the myth of the solitary genius, don't we? Just someone staring at a blank wall until, miraculously, bam, they're struck by this bolt of out-of-the-blue inspiration. But human creativity is actually far more practical than that, and honestly, far more fascinating. It doesn't just spontaneously generate from a void. It actually emerges from a massive act of recombination. Creativity comes from taking existing ideas, drawing on our lived experiences, gathering knowledge over time, and then putting all those existing puzzle pieces together in ways that just simply didn't exist before.
And here's the thing. Artificial intelligence operates on that exact same principle of recombination. Compare human creativity, connecting existing experiences, to AI models, recombining learned data patterns. These models absolutely do not invent understanding from scratch. They aren't just sitting in some digital void having magical epiphanies. Instead, they function by learning patterns from massive oceans of data, and then they stitch those patterns together into something useful for us. It's literally a mirror image of our own cognitive process, just executed at a massive scale in code. They are, at their very core, extraordinarily powerful pattern matchers and recombining engines.
So, what does this all mean? Well, it brings us to a hard, inescapable limit, which we call the ceiling of AI. An AI system's absolute maximum potential is determined entirely by the quality of the underlying knowledge it learns from. And look, this is a massive realization for the industry right now. It means that the ultimate capability of an AI system is often capped long before the actual training phase even begins. You could literally have the most sophisticated algorithms in the world running on the fastest chips ever built. But if the foundational knowledge they're fed is flawed, weak, or incomplete, well, the AI is going to hit a ceiling it simply cannot break through.
And that ceiling is exactly why the industry is shifting. It's why a company called Kadada is focusing its efforts on a completely different layer than most. While everyone else is busy decorating the penthouse, tweaking the chat interfaces, perfecting prompt engineering, Kadada is pouring new concrete. They focus entirely on this overlooked layer, the data infrastructure. They understand that to raise the ceiling of what AI can do, you can't just blindly tweak the model parameters. You have to fundamentally improve the raw earth it's built upon. You have to fix the infrastructure that feeds the machine.
Now, this isn't just about hoarding more data, right? It's a very deliberate architectural process. Let's walk through it. Step 1, you start with the chaotic, raw contributions out there in the real world. But instead of just dumping that mess into an advanced AI, we move to Step 2. That raw material is actively cleaned, fact-checked, and transformed into something highly structured and verifiable. And that brings us to Step 3, the end result, traceable knowledge assets. Now notice the word assets there. This data has been refined from raw, chaotic material into a highly valuable structural asset that an AI system can actually trust, reference, and use to build truly reliable outputs.
To really grasp why that structured transformation is so vital, think about the crucial difference between noise and signal. Look at noise first. Noise happens when you have poor provenance, meaning you have absolutely no idea where the data came from, and the context is completely lost. It's confusing, it's chaotic, and if you feed it to an AI, the AI's output is going to be just as confused. But then look at signal. Signal occurs when provenance is incredibly clear, when the context is perfectly preserved, and when the quality of the information is actually measurable. When those elements exist, models learn from true signal instead of distracting noise. It's kind of like the difference between trying to learn a complex new language in a quiet, focused classroom versus trying to learn it while standing right next to a roaring jet engine. Signal is absolutely everything.
So all of this culminates in a massive, industry-wide shift that we are witnessing right now. For the longest time, we operated under the old paradigm. The mindset was simply bigger models. Just throw more parameters, more computing power, more raw, unfiltered data at the wall, and just hope it gets smarter. But we're hitting the limits of that brute force approach. The future of AI won't be defined solely by bigger models. We're now entering the new paradigm, which is entirely focused on better knowledge. The true differentiator moving forward isn't going to be who has the biggest supercomputer, but who has the cleanest, most structured, and most verifiable foundational knowledge for their models to learn from. It's a real game changer. Which brings us to the end of our explainer today, and I want to leave you with a final, somewhat provocative thought to mull over. What kind of knowledge architecture are you relying on today? Seriously, whether you're a developer building the next generation of AI, a business leader investing millions in these tools, or just someone using AI to help with your daily tasks, you need to think about the foundation. Is the technology you trust built on a chaotic swamp of untraceable noise, or is it built on a verifiable, structured signal? The ceiling of your AI's capability depends entirely on your answer to that question. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking the big questions, always look at the foundation, and I will catch you next time.